Now, some of you may find this hard to believe, but I am a huge fan of heavy metal music, especially the loud, obscene Cookie Monster screamy screams. I was always fascinated by the power of a heavy metal vocalist, and I was so obsessed with it that I eventually formed a band and started screaming myself. And since some of you guys are asking me for a video covering the vocalists that have inspired me the most over the years, that's what I'm doing. Here you go. Truth is, this was a bit tricky to put together because really every vocalist that I enjoy at all inspires me in some type of way, even if it's a genre that's totally not what my band does. But I did manage to narrow it down to this list of the top vocalists who really inspired me over the years and always made me go, I want to do that. So headbang the like button, stage dive onto the subscribe button, and windmill the video to your friends. And if you're a fan of the channel, consider becoming a member. Memberships only cost 99 cents a month, and each one really helps me toward my lifelong goal of creating a life-size Godzilla to invade Canada. And now sit back, relax, and let me simp over the top 10 metal vocalists that inspired me. These aren't really ranked in competition with each other. It's not like least influence to most influence. They're just on the order that they happen to be on the video. All are equal under the awesomeness of the top 10. So, number 10 on the list, we're gonna start with the legend, the one that's on the flag right behind me over here, the one and only Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead. I've mentioned it in plenty of videos, but Lemmy inspired everybody. Every band you listen to that's good was inspired by Motorhead and Lemmy in some type of way, whether musically or just lifestyle. And that's the inspiration that I really took from Lemmy, was just he was 100% himself all the way, no matter what he was doing, no matter what people thought about it, if it was popular at the time or not. He was always him. He always went up on this stage with a take it or leave it attitude. And I do feel it was really the embodiment, the personification of rock and roll and its spirit all in one body, riddled with nicotine and whiskey. If you've listened to my music, you know that I do the extreme death metal vocals. And actually, growing up, I never thought I would be able to do that type of vocals. I thought that was totally insane. I was sounding like Lemmy. That was the type of vocals I was doing. I would do like karaoke covers of Ace of Spades. I would do some like Metallica and stuff like that. Just trying to match that raspy like cigarette tray vocals that Lemmy had. Lemmy inspired me to always aim to be myself up on stage and not give a shit if some people can't handle it, because the ones that can will stick with you till the end. Number 9 for this list is a vocalist that really inspired my technique and sound-wise, the aggression that I want to come through when I'm really trying to deliver an intense performance. And that screamer is former arch-enemy vocalist Angela Gossow. Angela just had this intensity in her voice and in her stage presence where, one, she sounded fucking badass. She sounded like a beast with her vocals, but she also gave off the vibe that she would dive off stage and just pummel your face in. Like current day arch enemy, they have Alyssa White Glutes in the band, and she's good. She's very good. I've always been satisfied when I've seen them live with her, but if you saw Arch Enemy back when Angela was in the band, it was a whole nother level. She really mastered how to be fierce on stage. And like I said, her lows weren't really the typical kind of death metal Cannibal Corpse sounding ones. They were more aggressive, had more of kind of like a shouting, primal like rage to it. But yeah, the sound of her vocals and the ferocity that she just brings through her performance hugely have inspired me. And my band, Dark Insanity, we got our name from an old Arch Enemy song, so there you go. And sticking with the Swedish melodic death metal for a moment, which was always one of my favorite genres, up next, number 3, singer that's probably my biggest inspiration in terms of vocal range and versatility and just how like perfection he is at all of it. The one and only Peter Tägtgren of Hypocrisy and Pain. I discovered Hypocrisy very early on in my metal journey, and they blew me away with just the range. Peter can do the most perfect, deep, low, guttural vocals, and then go immediately just high, piercing, like Nazgul screams. Very impressive to me. Always something that I wanted to learn how to do myself, and I'd take so much of my vocal technique from Peter's style. Like maybe at first listen you might think that Hypocrisy has different vocalists, but no, it's just Peter doing all. He does the best like fry screams I've ever heard. Those are the really high screams for those who don't know the lingo. Epic deep low growls, especially stuff with Bloodbath, just crazy good. And then with his other band Pain, where he does like gothic type of vocals and clean singing. So his vocal range is perfection at all of the different styles. And the song lyrics and structure too. Hypocrisy's music is very crazy, insane, grinding mosh pit death metal, but also has the feel of like epicness and atmosphere to it, while the lyrics can deal with much bigger concepts. Just listen to a song like Tales of Thy Spineless by Hypocrisy, Eaten by Bloodbath, and Zombie Slam by Pain. All those songs sound pretty different from each other vocally, and it's all him. He's a fucking master at it. Peter Tägtgren is at the top of the list for my biggest inspirations. He's the one that I've tried to rip off vocally the most. Going from Swedish melodic death metal to UK grindcore for number 4, the one and only Barney Greenway of Napalm Death makes this list, partially because of his insane deep screams that sound like a rabid animal trying to maul someone's throat out, but also because of his wild stage presence. And if you've seen Napalm Death live, you know that you can't really get a picture of them because Barney's just running across the whole stage the whole time. I have seen this man performing live while in a chair because he had a broken leg, still going. I've seen Napalm Death live so many times. I've never seen them put on a bad show, a boring show. They as a band, and Barney especially, have always had top energy, brought their A game, no matter the situation, and his wildness on stage is why I put him so high on this list. This is my impression of Barney from Napalm Death. Alright, thank you everyone. This next song is about world peace and loving animals and respect for each other and love and peace, everybody. Love and peace. And that was about 3 Napalm Death songs. Barney going on stage for a Napalm Death show is like when a bull gets led into a ring and just starts losing its fucking mind. Yeah, energy, aggression, the madness of his vocals is why Barney and his friends make number 4 on this list. For number 5, speaking of insane frontmen who go wild on stage, I would like to put on this list Randy Blythe from Lamb of God. Basically for the exact same reason. Every single time I've seen Lamb of God live, Randy's brought his A game, full of energy. He looks like a rabid demon being unleashed on stage, jumping off of shit, windmilling if he has hair. He knows how to entertain the crowd in a wild, like punk rock frontman type of way, while his band is playing arenas and massive festivals. Sometimes it's hard to keep that same type of energy moving into such a big live setting, but Randy's managed to do it. He comes off like a cool, wild punk rock type of guy who happens to be in a very large band, not a rock star in any type of way. He also has great range vocally. He can also do really crazy low growls and then do awesome epic fry screams. Different than how Peter Tägtgren does, but with more of the kind of aggression that Angela Gossow has. Where like if you're at a Lamb of God show and you see Randy going crazy and then he suddenly dives off stage and punches someone in the face, you'd be like, I'm not totally surprised. Maybe more back in the day, but that's at least like the presence it gives off as he's performing, if you know what I mean. For his vocal style and range and being able to keep up that wild like club frontman energy while playing massive arenas is why Randy makes it on this list. Sticking with the wild high energy, engaging performances out of frontmen that have inspired me, number 6 on this list goes to the one and only singer of the greatest band of all time, Holtzfor of Arnogorps! Arnogorps are the self-described greatest band of all time. These action-adventure heroes make epic punk rock music about ancient Austrian folk tales such as Terminator and Predator and Kindergarten Cop and all of these fantastic things. Arnogorps is a band that I discovered early on in my musical journey. They are probably the band I've seen the most times, like period, because I lived in the general same area as them for a long time, so I went to as many shows as possible and became friends with the band. Those dudes are awesome and I've been to shows with them and everything. And their singer, Holtzfor, is one of, if not the best, most entertaining frontman I have ever seen out of any band. For their entire set, he is high energy, hilarious, stays in character the whole time, but he's not just wild and insane in his movements and like stage diving. He gets everyone in the crowd to participate. Their songs are about things like Commando, but they're also about self-empowerment and feeling the ballsiness in yourself and becoming your own action-adventure hero. Holtzfor makes this list because he really showed me over the years what I want to see in a performance. I want to see a frontman who's one, entertaining, you can tell is having a great time, or at least makes it look like they're having a great time, and engaging the audience in ways that's really entertaining. I've learned through Arnogorps that humor plays a big part in music. Even with music that isn't humor itself, like my band, Dark Insanity. Our lyrics aren't about humorous, funny things, but in between songs and everything, we have playful stage banter, we're cracking jokes. I can't help but telling some jokes when I have a microphone in my hand. And Arnogorps always showed me that it's important to lean into the fun of all of it, and to always remember that the people in the crowd are there to see you, and it doesn't matter if there's 10 people, or if there's 100, or 1100. You should always strive to give the people who are there the show that you would want to see yourself. And I've seen Holtzfor and Arnogorps do that. I've seen him have the exact same energy for a headlining crowd at a festival, and for a small biker bar in the middle of nowhere that had like 5 people there. It was always awesome and memorable because of the energy energy that he would bring. Oh, plus Arnogorps is actually the first band that I ever performed a full song with on stage as vocals. At one of their shows years ago down here in LA, I've jumped up on stage with them a lot and done like backing vocals and jumped around and shit. But this one time, Holtzfor gave me the mic and got off the stage, and he was moshing while I did the entire song. And that meant a lot to me as someone who was an aspiring vocalist at the time. Yeah, I would say Arnogorps over the years really showed me how to create and enthrall the crowd and just a fun energy throughout your performance. Check them out, they're the greatest band of all time. Their song I'm Ballsy will make your biceps 5 times larger by the time you're finished with it. It's fantastic. And speaking of fun punk rock and metal rock and roll music about Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, let's talk about something completely different. For number 7 on this list, we're going the complete opposite end of music for the one and only Floor Jansen. Currently the vocalist of Nightwish, was also in the bands Revamp and After Forever. Floor, I would say, is a pretty new addition to this list because I really only got very into her when she joined Nightwish. I'd heard her name for a long time, but I never like sat down and really checked her out, and quickly was blown away by how masterful she is with all of her vocal styles. The last several on this list are all wild and crazy and energetic. This one is here for the mastery of the skill of vocals. I know this will spark a very heated discussion in the comments, but I actually think she's probably the best vocalist that Nightwish has had. I know everybody loves Tarja and those songs are great, but I feel like Floor can expertly do both her songs and Annette's while adding her own style to it. That doesn't take away from the songs. It doesn't sound like she's trying. I feel like she really does make the songs her own. And the way she can go from epic, grandiose, operatic vocals that can make you like cry with emotion and then immediately into like growling death metal. Even though I clearly don't make music like Nightwish and I don't sound like Floor singing these beautiful songs, there's something about watching just an expert at their craft excel, and it's just so inspiring and makes you want to learn from them. Like, she's one of the sensei masters that I would seek out on my own journey to become a master. And while her screams are awesome and impressive, her clean operatic singing, she adds so much emotion and it feels actually heartfelt and genuine when she performs. And that's how it is for me whenever I listen to her songs or see her live. I'm just mesmerized at the pure talent coming from her. I'm like, teach me your ways. I would actually really love to do epic, clean operatic vocals. Not with Dark Insanity. I'm not gonna do that. But Floor definitely inspires me to become more of an expert in the skill of vocals. Speaking of epic vocals, but we're gonna go back to death metal now. Number 8 on this list goes to Peter, the frontman of Vader. Vader were one of my very first death metal bands. Back when I had innocent little virgin metal ears and only listened to shit like Metallica and Slayer, Vader were one of the first extreme underground bands that immediately caught my attention, mostly because of the vocals. Peter doesn't do the typical low, like, gurgling death metal. His vocals sound like a demon. Not a monster that's gonna rip you apart, but more like some epic dark figure with a thunderous voice. It's a more baritone sound, but it's projected with such power that it easily works with the sound of their death metal. And if it weren't for discovering Vader early on in my teenage years, I don't know if I'd be as into death metal as I am today. But in terms of vocal sound, it's important for me to, one, have like a deepness in the sound, but also range and projection. A lot of death metal vocalists are actually pretty quiet if you take the microphone away. And this one is not. Peter's voice carries the vibration throughout the room and it'll just like shake your bones on the inside. And the intensity and energy of that is really inspiring me, but also the clarity and the enunciation. You can actually understand what Peter's saying in his song. Which, I mean, I love plenty of bands where it's harder to tell too, but that one does take a little special notch. Peter's thunderous voice is just super inspiring to me. And speaking of death metal, speaking of brutality, speaking of gore and intensity and badass vocals, number 9 on this list goes to Corpsegrinder of Cannibal Corpse. The friendliest, cuddliest death metal frontman you'll ever meet. There's a reason Cannibal Corpse has always been one of the most legendary bands in death metal, and Corpsegrinder plays a big part in that. Just the intensity of his voice. At all moments, he sounds like he's possessed by a demon that's gonna pummel your face in until your skull is just dust. Any death metal vocalist should want to have that intensity and power to them. On his recent solo album too, the vocals on that are just insane. And while I may never be able to achieve the same neck girth as he has, he's definitely inspired me with my death metal vocals. I mean, it's a pretty good standard too. If you want to learn how to be a death metal singer, practicing Cannibal Corpse songs is a pretty good way to do it. And he shows the importance of being a badass vocalist who's menacing on stage while being a great cool guy off stage. Everyone who's met Corpsegrinder says he's the greatest dude. He's super friendly. I've met him before. On stage, he looks like he'll fucking kill you. Off stage, he's like your friendly neighbor who wants to come over to watch the NFL game and talk about comic books. But vocal-wise, Corpsegrinder makes this list for the sound of his voice and for the intensity. And last but certainly not least on this list, number 10, a vocalist that I do not sound like at all, but is one of my biggest inspirations and one of Corpsegrinder's too. Number 10 goes to the one and only King Diamond. King Diamond has always been one of my favorite vocalists. Just the power, the sound of the music. The way you just get captured in it with the lyrics and his sound. King really treats his voice like an instrument. He's not just narrating the story. He's adding different melodies, different rhythms with his voice, different layers and textures to the song. Because yes, he does those very high-pitched screams a lot, but he also does a wide range of more baritone, more creepy kind of like theater acting, verges a little bit on like death metal-y at sometimes. And as he's gotten older, he's only gotten better. It's crazy. The last time I saw King Diamond, possibly the best time sounding wise. I grew up listening to his albums and reading the lyrics all the way through, and he's inspiring for his wide range in his vocals, his mastering of it like Jansen, and also his stage performance. He clearly knows how to do the theater, the spectacle, giving the cool visual to the music, while also being entertaining and engaging, capturing the crowd, and having fun with it too. He's not just fully up there dead serious the whole time. He's rocking out with the little air guitar and everything. Creating whole concepts for the albums too is really interesting to me. And especially with writing music, when I'm coming up with lyrics for my band, I try to keep in mind to keep the vocal structure interesting and challenging. Sometimes things just fit into place pretty easily, but sometimes my first thought isn't going to be the best one, and I want to stretch it and make it more interesting. And King is great inspiration for that. Taking like a word and stretching it out and making it work better with the rhythm of the music, rather than just like da-da, 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 da-da. Where would I be without King Diamond? Where would Corpsegrinder be? Where would all of metal be without the crazy high-pitched screaming of the Halloween humanoid? And that is my list of the top 10 vocalists that inspired me over my metal journey. They're the ones where if I need a little extra motivation, whether in terms of stage performance or songwriting, I tend to look back on their styles and influences. But like I said at the beginning of this video, every vocalist that I like in some way, even if they have a couple songs I enjoy, inspired me as a vocalist. And I always see little things with different singers where I'm like, oh, I respect that, I value that. How can you take that thing but kind of twist it to your own, or add this would be cool with that element over it? But those are the top 10 that really formed the mosaic of my own vocalist journey. Who are the musicians that greatly inspire you, that either make you want to get up on stage, or had motivated you to start your own band? Any wild influences that people might not expect but mean a lot to you? Maybe your death metal singer is really inspired by Dolly Parton. Let me know in the comments below. For more from me, check out my band Dark Insanity. You can find us on Instagram, on Spotify, on all of the streaming platforms, on Bandcamp as well. We have our EP Rabid Psychosis out now. We've got merch available for the channel and for the band. Now you can get White's Metal t-shirts, Savior of Metal hats, Dark Insanity t-shirts, Dark Insanity weed bags. We've got everything. Links for all of my stuff can be found in the description of this video. Anyway, that's it for now, and I'll see you in the next video.